What's up, everybody? Nick Whalen back with Alex Barutha talking some waiver wire for your fantasy basketball leagues. We haven't done one of these since the trade deadline, Alex, and a lot of moving pieces. Some teams making it very clear which direction they will be headed the rest of the way. So a lot of opportunity abound here.
There is, and there are plenty of guys who, if you're in a shallow league, I think are available to pick up and stream in. Max Christie has looked really good in Dallas. They're down a bunch of players. Stephon Castle, there was some panic dropping of Stephon Castle when Fox joined the Spurs, but he's actually played pretty well since his first sort of bad game off the bench. And then you got guys like Jaxson Hayes, Bull has looked pretty good, and Donovan Clingan, I think is probably, I don't know if he's the most must-add player out of this sort of shallower leagues list, but with DeAndre Ayton out at least a month, I think Clingan's in the opportunity we hoped he would be in at some point.
Yeah, I mean, a situation like this, it's like you don't want an injury to be the reason that Donovan Clingan has opportunity, but we always say these situations where you have a very clearly good player who's putting up great per minute numbers, but is only seeing 15 to 19 minutes a game, like for whatever reason, these situations just work themselves out. I guess the exception might be Reed Shepherd, who just can't buy a minute for the Houston Rockets. We'll have to readdress him next season, it feels like, at this point. But Donovan Clingan is going to take off. I love that call. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about an ex-Portland Trailblazer, also an ex-Phoenix Sun, Jusuf Nurkic. And really, we could just talk about the Hornets at large. There are a couple of teams here going forward where it's going to be kind of a mess. It could be a fruitful mess if things break the right way. We did see Nurkic, playing the other night. The Hornets have injuries all over the roster right now. Diabate has missed some time. Mark Williams remains in limbo. Are you taking a chance right now on Jusuf Nurkic?
I wouldn't mind taking a chance. I think you just have to temper expectations, because on the whole season, he's playing 23 minutes a game, ranked 156 and 8 cat per game. So I don't really envision him seeing 30 minutes a game in this role. And like you said, we still have to wait for Mark Williams' situation to sort itself out. But if I'm in maybe a deeper league or a 2-center league, I would entertain picking up Nurkic for sure.
I think it's worth the flyer. I think they brought him in for a reason. Obviously doesn't really fit their timeline or the direction of their season. But I think if you are a Mark Williams pessimist as far as how many games he's going to play the rest of the way, or if this medical red flag could turn into something bigger, it's not a team that has a lot of options at center. I mean, it's Diabate and then Nurkic, and then all of a sudden you're into Taj Gibson and Dejan Salan, who I think we will see more of at some point down the stretch. Elsewhere with the Hornets, we've seen all kinds of random guys, KJ Simpson, Damian Baugh playing minutes for them on two-way deals, DaQuan Jeffries, Josh Green. Obviously, Nick Smith has been in the mix for a couple weeks here. So is there anybody else that really piques your interest? I guess I should mention Elfrid Payton as well.
Yeah, I think it depends, because we're heading into the All-Star break and it's kind of unclear, LaMelo, Mark Williams, Diabate could come back right after the break. So it's sort of difficult to know how to deal with that. But you mentioned Elfrid Payton. He started yesterday against the Magic, played 32 minutes, had 7 assists, only 4 points, but you're not really, you wouldn't be rostering him for scoring. So if you need some dimes, I don't hate the idea of Payton. The problem is that I think he's on a 10-day deal. So who knows?
Yeah, very strange signing. I did not think we would see Elfrid Payton in the NBA at all this season, let alone for two different teams before the All-Star break. But here we are. You mentioned Bull earlier in the video. Very intrigued. I'm always intrigued anytime Bull weasels his way into a rotation. 16, 7, 13 total blocks, 9 made threes over his last 4 games. I did want to ask you about your guy, Alex, Ben Simmons, who possibly might debut for the Clippers tonight. I've been out of the Ben Simmons business for a number of years. I think you've been a little bit more open to the possibility of Ben Simmons being a productive player. Is there any hope that things change as far as his availability goes with the Clippers?
Do you think the Clippers will hang a bunch of Ben Simmons jerseys on every seat in the stadium like they did for Luka Doncic and crypto?
I think it's possible. I think it's possible.
No, I think it's tough because the Clippers rotation isn't exactly a thin rotation, right? Because they've gotten good minutes out of Amir Coffey, and they also brought in Bogdan Bogdanovic. And I know Terrence Mann, they moved off of him, but I just would not expect more than 18, 19 minutes a game for Ben Simmons. And at that point, I don't think it's really worth it outside of really deep formats.
I got a couple of 3-point specialists. You know, if you want to take a spin on the Gary Trent ride, he has been hot lately. You know, Damian Lillard missed their last game. They've had some guys in and out. Obviously, no Giannis for the last few, but 3.8 made threes per game over the last 5 for Gary Trent. Corey Kispert, he's coming off the bench for Washington, but putting up 17, 4 and 2, over 3 made threes per game over his last 6. And despite coming off the bench, still playing almost 29 minutes per game. So I have some interest there. You know, Thomas Bryant is somebody who came to mind. He's just next man up right now for the Pacers. I think Miles Turner will be back after the break. If he is, that probably relegates Thomas Bryant to like really deep league only status, but somebody to keep an eye on at least.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant, we know when he gets the minutes, he can put up numbers. That's never really been the question. It's just he's not been a winning player really, so he hasn't been getting those minutes. The Pacers also signed Jahlil Okafor though, which kind of makes you wonder if this Turner injury, they feel like it has a chance of lingering a little bit longer.
I thought the same thing, and I believe it was a 10-day, so that might just be, all right, get us to the All-Star break. We just need a little bit of depth. That was a perseverance update, I think, from Chris Haynes, if I'm using the correct terminology on that one. So good on Jahlil Okafor for getting back in the NBA. What about Davion Mitchell in Miami? I have no handle on this Heat rotation right now. I mean, they've been missing like at least 2 guys in every game since the trade deadline. Terry Rozier is going to be out again tonight. Andrew Wiggins is out tonight. Bam might not play. Duncan Robinson might not play. Tyler Hero missed some time. So, you know, we've seen a couple of these high-minute games from Davion Mitchell. He started each of the last 2, but I have a hard time believing that's going to continue to be the case.
Yeah, and part of the issue is he's such a low usage player. And when he was in Toronto, you were rostering him just for the pop games of assists and steals.
Yeah.
And honestly, his steal rate is not, it's like 1 per 36 minutes, right? It's not really what a defender of his caliber could maybe get if he was more aggressive. But with the absences in the Heat, he's been seeing some minutes, but I don't think it's really going to last.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And this is not, you know, he's not giving you like Isaiah Collier level assists. You know, even in these last 2 games. I mean, he's played a combined 58 minutes, 7 total assists. So I think the upside here is relatively limited. You know, I do want to mention both Max Christie and Quentin Grimes. I think in most deeper competitive leagues, they were added this past week, but I would double check. You know, I think they're probably still out there in a lot of 12s and 14s. I mean, Quentin Grimes looked like a superior player to Paul George last night against the Nets. Had a huge game. I still don't really understand what Dallas was doing with the Martin for Grimes swap, essentially, but we'll let the Mavs be the Mavs at this point. And Max Christie, you know, continues to run it for Dallas right now. Max Strus also available in a bunch of leagues. You know, Cleveland's had some guys out. They brought in DeAndre Hunter, so I think the ceiling is relatively limited. But you're just looking for some volume threes every now and then for Max Strus, and you know they have other options, but somebody to keep in mind. How about Trendon Watford? You know, somebody that, you know, in Portland always liked on a per minute basis. It was a little bit too inconsistent, you know, as far as that rotation goes, but strung together a few nice games here as a part of that bench unit for the Nets.
Yeah, last year he was about a fantasy point per minute. This year he's at 0.9, which is pretty good. Yeah, he is a tank commander. That is one thing we know about Trendon Watford. Yeah. And the Nets have been playing Cam Johnson and D'Angelo Russell's been in the mix, and eventually Cam Thomas is going to come back, but I just don't really trust those guys being healthy for every game down the stretch. So I think a lot of these Nets guys, honestly, if you're in a 16-team league, I would just keep an eye. I would like watch list almost all of them. Just because on any 4-game week, just throw these guys in if you need the stats, including, I mean, one guy on my list is Day'Ron Sharpe. Past 9 games, basically 10 points a game on 65%, 6 boards, 2 dimes, 1.8 stocks, and that's in only 17 minutes a game.
Yep.
So someone who, if he gets 20 to 25 minutes at some point down the stretch, is just going to be a big fantasy contributor.
All right. Full disclosure, I'm out of names, Alex. Who else is on your list?
If you're in a deeper format, Keon Ellis, if you're rostering him for anything but steals and blocks, you're sort of not rostering him for the right reasons. But past 9 games, 2.7 stocks, you know, the way Sacramento's rotation has been, he's been playing a lot more minutes, 27 minutes a game over his past 9. I will mention very quietly, Caris LeVert in Atlanta, because Vit Krejci's out for about a month now.
Love it. I love it.
Obviously, DeAndre Hunter and Bogdanovich are gone. Past 2 games for Caris LeVert, he's played 30 minutes in both games, 38 total points, 18 rebounds, 9 assists, and 3 blocks. Atlanta's a little short on playmakers, and LeVert, I mean, that's who he's been. He's a 6-man. He can handle the ball. He can get you stats. So I think he is someone who has flown a little bit under the radar as a potential waiver wire ad.
I think a lot of people don't even realize that he's playing for the Hawks. I'll tell you that. And with Krejci going out, I mean, there are minutes available there. I did just verify 3 blocks last night against the Knicks for Caris LeVert. Our system only lets us look back at this season and last season. That was his first 3-block game in at least a year and a half. So I wouldn't count too much on the blocks, but the counting stats should be there. I mean, Atlanta to me is just a really confusing team. You know, it's like they're still going to be in the play-in mix almost by default. They certainly don't feel like they loaded up at the deadline. If anything, you know, you're selling off DeAndre Hunter. Immediately we get Trae Young trade rumors for the offseason. But outside of Trae Young, outside of Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, who continues to play really well for them. I still don't understand why they didn't trade Clint Capella, by the way. We'll see if anything comes of that. But there are plenty of minutes available here. I think Georges Niang could be somebody to take a look at as well. You're mostly looking for the threes there. He took 10 of them in 34 minutes last night against the Knicks, and they do have Terrence Mann. You and I feel like we can't really victory lap too many things, but all the times that the Clippers said, man, we can't part ways with this guy to bring in some sort of upgrade around Kawhi or PG. I don't understand it. Played 16 minutes in an overtime game last night against the Knicks. 1 point on 4 shots.
Don't add him. Please do not add Terrence Mann. Niang was actually on my deep cut list, my sicko list. 7% rostered on Yahoo. I'm exactly in my notes. It just says I don't know, but he's balling, which is pretty much what you said.
Yeah.
To empty the clip out here, I will mention I'm very surprised at the low roster rates of Kyshawn George and Bob Carrington in Washington, both around like mid-teens on percentage-wise in Yahoo leagues. Kyshawn George's past 4 games, he's playing 34 minutes a game, averaging 15 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, 1.5 steals. Bob Carrington, past 5 games, 16 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds in 36 minutes. I mean, the Washington, they traded guys. Kuzma's gone. Valanciunas is gone. This is a team that's going to tank and lean into their young guys more than they ever have against, like, we waited all season for Kyshawn George and Bob Carrington, and now that they're popping off, nobody's adding them. So please go out and add these guys.
I think there's just a general Wizards malaise out there. True. Just still reeling from the departure of Kyle Kuzma. But that opens up 33 minutes a night in that rotation. So great calls all around. All right, we're going to head into the All-Star break. We'll have another one of these videos coming for you. Maybe we'll get some buyout guys, some more things shaken up over the break, but we'll have plenty of All-Star coverage for you over at RotoWire. Very much looking forward to All-Star weekend. We got a new format. We got a G Leaguer trying to three-peat in the dunk contest. We got Dame going for the three-peat in the three-point contest. So it should be a lot of fun. If you're still watching this video, make sure you subscribe, give it a like as well. We always appreciate that. Make sure you check out all of our content on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball YouTube channel, rotowire.com/pod. You see it right there on your screen. Free access to everything on our site.